you.
Hey, we got it.
Yes,
Hey.
fantastic.
I don't know what the hell I did, but yeah, okay.
Whatever you did, it was magical.
It worked.
You guys okay?
Yeah, we're doing
Yes.
fine. How about you, Sensei Glenn?
Hold on a second. What's under your eye?
It's from training.
You know Brock. What'd you do?
So I was doing some jujitsu, and I ran into an outlet box, and it cut my
Outlet box?
Yeah,
Oh.
slice.
Oh,
I just
wow.
bandaged it up and kept on training. So hey.
That's good. Good.
Huh. Oh, man.
Man.
All right. Well, wow.
So
thank you. Thank you for coming on to our show.
No problem. This is my my first podcast, actually.
Are you serious?
Oh, really?
Yeah, my first.
Oh, whoa.
And the only reason why I agreed to do it was because of the questions that you asked.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, the questions that you asked were interesting, and you did some research. And then you said something about you read an article that I did many years ago.
Yes. So it was when I was in university. I was teaching like in a martial arts self-defense class. And I was doing some research into Goju Ryu because I'm a Goju Ryu practitioner, my base style. And so I ended up finding videos of Taira Sensei.
The man.
Yeah. And it was actually from a martial arts documentary that I saw on YouTube, where they saw him hitting a tree because he was working on short distance power, and he shook the tree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, what's this? And it was Goju. So I was like, all right, well, let me look more into this. And then as I was doing research into Taira Sensei and his movements, I found an article about you, about how you used Goju Ryu and some of the movements within the kata when you were ended up getting into a bad situation where you had to get out quick. So, and so all that kind of came together. So it just stuck in my mind.
Wow, that's incredible. What is your Goju lineage? With who? Who'd you study with?
My sensei is Miguel Medina.
I know Miguel.
You know Miguel?
From Buffalo University.
Yeah, from Buffalo. Yeah, he's my sensei. He was my sensei from high school.
Wow.
I have a letter from him that I just found for some reason. Out on my desk, and Miguel's letter popped out, and I read it. He actually sent it to me to give it to Sensei DeBasie because at the time he was training underneath us.
Really?
Yeah, Miguel.
So Sensei Miguel trained under DeBasie with you. DeBasie. Right? Yeah, Goju.
Yeah, Buffalo Goju. Yes. I have video of when we went up there for grading with he was studying under Anthony DeSario. And Anthony left to become a doctor, and I think Miguel took over a dojo or something like that. And I have a video of Sensei DeBasie using a technique and breaking Anthony DeSario's collarbone.
Whew.
Yeah, one strike. Stolce.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a long time ago. I can't believe it. Are you in touch with Miguel?
I haven't been in touch with him for years. After I graduated from high school, and Sensei Miguel went on to he became a principal at a high school.
Really?
And then I hadn't heard back from him. I assumed he got really busy, but I hadn't heard from Miguel Sensei in a long time.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, if I come around, if I have that letter here, and I will scan it and I will send it to you guys if that means anything to you.
Oh, that is yes, please and thank you. I think for me it means a lot, just because he's the one that introduced me to Goju Ryu. So I think for me it means a lot.
And that was actually Shinto Goju that we were studying on Sensei DeBasie.
Ah.
Yeah. Sensei, do you know Sensei DeBazy's lineage or background?
I tried to find information about him, but there's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. He was like a mountain hermit. And a matter of fact, when he did calligraphy, he signed his calligraphy as the mountain hermit.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
See if I can.
Are we starting now, or are we into
Oh,
it?
yeah, yeah, we're in it.
Our interviews our the way our show generally works is we usually start off with like some conversation, just kind of like leading in. It's a little less formal than most situations, because it's, for us, the conversation, as far as martial arts is concerned, we definitely want to make the conversation very authentic, very organic. So trying to, we do have a structure, obviously, with the questions that we've sent you, but we want to just kind of let it flow, come as it flows. And honestly, finding this wonderful nugget of information, especially in Manny's case, is definitely one of those reasons as to why we do this.
Well, David, you trained with Emmanuel too, or what's your background?
Well, Manny is actually what I consider Manny my instructor, but me and Manny trained together in college. My martial arts experience comes more from the Chinese Kung Fu direction rather than karate. I was introduced to karate through Manny when we started training together in college. He was actually my kickboxing coach as well, and it was because of the training that I did under Manny that I was able to win my first couple tournaments.
1, 2, kick! 1, 2, kick!
That he comes across, and it's through Manny that I was able to really expand a lot of my martial arts perspective and really begin to dig deep into my art through Manny. So he and I are very close friends. I consider him one of my closest brothers. And just as far as martial arts is concerned, I always come to him for questions and things about application. So he's kind of like, in a sense, he's kind of like my sensei, but we don't really work with the titles that much.
Yeah.
And when you said Kung Fu,
yes, sir.
What lineage is that with the Kung Fu?
I practice Wing Chun Kung Fu. My lineage, the one that I've practiced, I started with self-teaching myself, but I took a lot of my example from Master Wang Shenlong, who was but a lot of my stuff I've been basing in Chinese Sanda as well, and Hungar Kung Fu is also.
Hungar, the hard style.
Yeah, that was what I started with when I was in high school. That was. Yes, sir.
Where are you?
I am in Maryland, and Manny is in Japan.
Yeah, I'm in Osaka, Japan right now.
Ah, you're in Osaka.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So good. Okay. Great.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Man.
So
I'm still a little starstruck because I've read about you. I've read, and it's like because your dojo is in Staten Island, and you're a part of the Jundokan.
Well, I was part of the Jundokan. So why don't we get right into the story, and I'll tell you what's going on. So
okay, yeah.
Let's see where to start.
So can you introduce yourself first?
Yes, of course, for our viewers and those who will be following when we post the video.
Right. So my name is Glenn Cunningham. I have a rank of Kyoshi Hachidan under Taya Sensei, his Okinawan Karate Do Kenkyukai organization. Right now, I am the head in the United States of Taya-san's organization, Taya Sensei. We know each other so long before he was sensei, the Miyazato Sensei. So I am right now. I have a dojo in Staten Island based. One of my students has 2 dojos, 3 now in New Jersey, and another guy in the Kenkyukai in the United States is Brian Luttenbauer. He's in Iowa. So we all kind of try to stay together in the United States for Taya Sensei. That's who I am.
Wow.
Okay. Also,
there we go.
I'm a retired detective, 2nd grade detective. I came on in 1985 at the police department and retired in 2005. I currently and the vice president of security for the Tribeca Film Center in Manhattan, and also the director of security for the Greenwich Hotel, also the Tribeca Grill, as well as La Conda Verde. So these are all owned by Robert De Niro, who also I brief daily on situations around the world, on things that are happening, so to say. The man is the most recognizable face in the world, but if he does not want to be seen, you will not see him. He's very slippery and very slick. He's a family man, and he is a very quiet person, and he will open up to you if you're in his little circle of trust. Also, I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We got married in, I want to get this right now, 2004. And we dated, I believe, since 1980, but we went to grammar school together. We have triplet girls that are now 17 years old, and they are signed models with Maryland Models of New York.
Wow.
They just graduated high school.
Congratulations.
The units I worked in the police department were very, very elite. What happened was, my whole life, all I wanted to do was be a black belt and be a detective. And I did that. Those were goals I set for myself when I was around 10 years old. And I kept on seeking that. What got in the way was school and high school. High school, I played baseball, track, and basketball. And it was a demanding place. When I left high school, I was fooling around back and forth with the martial arts. But when I was out of high school, I full-time went right into the martial arts. And when I went into the police department, I was already a black belt. My first day in the police department, walking into the gym, the instructors there, I knew that were black belts. I wasn't expecting that. So they weren't in my dojo. They were in other dojos. The only reason why I knew them was because at tournaments, back in the 80s, tournaments were the big thing. So they kind of picked on me while in the police department. And it was the old academy up on 20th Street. And the gym was a wooden floor. So I decided that, because you had to do a lot of push-ups, I decided, you know what? If I'm going to be here and run every day and do all these calisthenics and this kind of crazy boxing style that they're showing that I know won't work in the street, I'm going to do push-ups on my knuckles. And what I did was everyone around me started doing it too. And the instructors are like, what's going on here? What's going on? It got the attention of the lieutenant in charge of the gym, who was Al Gote. I don't know if you know that name.
Not me, no.
Peter Urban's one of his main original students.
Peter Urban's original students.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he pulled me aside, and he said, "Who do you study with?" And I said, Sensei DeBasie. Chris, oh my God, we're dojo mates. He goes, "Wow, show me your kata." Big guy. He invited me because he had a small class that he taught twice a week up at John Jay. So I went up there a couple of times, and it was nice, but towards the end, once the instructors know you're going to graduate, you're going to be wearing the same shield, so they start to become friends with you. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we might have to work together at some point."
No bad blood between us, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my whole academy thing. But my job in life was to become a detective. I did not want to be a silver shield and wear that uniform all the time. My goal was to be a detective. So I tried and tried and tried. And I finally got I went and I called a friend. People tell you they're friends, but they're really not. When you ask a favor, which I would gladly return. One person saw an opportunity for me and called me and said, listen, you need to go for this interview. At the time, it was 1988, and Manhattan was just out of control in crime. And this one chief was looking to start his own special anti-crime unit from 59th Street to the ferry, both sides of the river. You would be plain clothes, and you would go for robberies. You would catch robbers. And I passed the interview, and we all got together, and there was about 25 of us, and we just started cleaning it up, and it was a complete success, and I was in heaven until Mayor Giuliani came, and he started buying up the property on 42nd Street, and things started changing. That many robberies going on in Manhattan, so people in the unit started making phone calls and leaving, and I didn't have a phone call. One guy came to me. I went on a few interviews to go to the detective squad. I had the credentials, and I went to this one interview, and the lieutenant calls me in, and there was a bunch of people on board, almost like a grading. He goes, okay, Police Officer Cunningham, this is so-and-so, and introduced me to each person, said, please have a seat. And he goes, okay, you were just introduced to 7 people. What's their names?
Oh, wow.
And, oh, God. I said, well, I know you and you. Okay, take care. And that was the end of the interview.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Man, this is crazy. So a friend of mine that was in auto larceny came up and said, hey, they're looking for people in narcotics. I said, really? Yeah, fill this out and send it in. I thought I was going to be an investigator. It turns out I was going in as an undercover. I already had a lot of time on the job.
Oh, wow.
All the undercovers that went in were young kids. I was already on the job. I went, oh my God, what am I doing? This is crazy. But I went in, and I wound up in Brooklyn South. And, I worked in Sunset Park in Brooklyn and Red Hook and all these crazy neighborhoods that I've never been in. Started growing my hair really long, my beard really long. And, I had this one guy, Dave Perilla, was a major case. He was a former Marine. He was kind of like a Guido. You guys know what a Guido is?
Yeah, we know what a Guido is.
Buying machine. He could talk your way out. If you wanted to look up what his book, he wrote a book called The Brass Wall. It was an interesting read. But we had a makeup kit in narcotics, and we would do things in narcotics. He showed me how to put like duck sauce and Chinese mustard under a Band-Aid and kind of mush it and let it drip and dry to look like you had an infected cut. At the time, AIDS was popular back then, so I would do a line of pepper to build up the tears in my eyes, and I would do the line of pepper and whoa, and you just go into a place. They would put a gun to your head, and they would say, "You're doing it right now." No, man, I got the virus. I was acting for real.
What?
Insanity stuff. And plus, I look like Jesus Christ that came off the cross. I would use any technique to make buying easier.
What?
I was in three shootouts over there, a couple of stabbings, a bunch of fights. And it was a real eye opener. But I would go to the dojo. I would get there about 5 o'clock. I would train till about 9. And then twice a month, you'd have to do midnights. And then I would go across the street to the Chinese restaurant. I'd get some spare ribs and a deep Budweiser, and I'd drive to work, believe it or not, and I'd be ready to go. I had these clothes that I didn't clean for 3 years, and I would take alcohol like it was cologne and, talk to my CIs that are in the street, contacts. I would leave them out there. They would steal you because it wasn't easy, man. It wasn't. Everyone thought it was easy. It did get easier as I got into character. But, a lot of guys out there were not that stupid. You couldn't treat them like they were stupid. They were out there to make money, and they want, sometimes they would question, like in Staten Island, we would go help Staten Island, and there was only like 4 major places you can go buy. they're like, where the hell did you come from?
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I just took a cab. I came over from Brooklyn, blah, blah, blah. Get the hell out of here. Oh, can I curse on this?
Yeah, you can curse on this.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
Fuck out of here, motherfucker. Are you kidding me? So then I said, okay, I would leave. And they said, no, come back. Mm-hmm. And I would buy like a couple of decks. And, you know, if you didn't haggle, they knew you were a cop.
Right.
Haggle. So I would say, yo, I just bought 10 decks. You don't throw one on? Oh, yeah, okay, hey, man. Just remember me last night. You know, stuff like that. It was nuts.
What?
I was buying guns. I was buying girls. I was buying cars. It was just insane.
This is straight out of a movie.
Seriously.
And that was just narcotics. It was nuts.
Wow.
It was crazy. You know, there was one time on a Saturday morning, I was following this robbery crew. And in anti-crime, you're only supposed to follow them for 45 minutes and you're supposed to break it off or approach them and tell them that you were following them. So it was coming about that time, and we saw these guys signal to themselves that they were pointing at someone. And I'm looking ahead to see, because in Manhattan, you can't drive around like in Brooklyn. You have to get on foot, and you got to walk around. You got to walk it. And I'm looking ahead at what they're doing, and I see that it was a little tiny Oriental man that they were going to hit. What they were going to do, they were going to do a rip and dip. So one guy would walk past and rip the pocket with a razor. And the other one behind, they would
snatch and then
usually they would run back to us. So that's the way we would catch them. But these guys were so sharp. They kept on looking around. And I was posing as a tourist, and there was this other girl that I was working with and another guy that I was working with. And these guys, I could see it wasn't the first time we're doing it. So all of a sudden, they came together and they moved in on this Japanese guy and spun him around. And they just shocked him, and he fell off the curb, and we went running. And I saw the guy was getting up, he was looking to run, and I'm yelling, "Yame, yame, yame," you know? And I just took a guess that he was Japanese, and he stood there like this. And I ran after. We caught the guys. We came back. We did a line. We did a show up, and he pointed them out. I used a little Japanese that I knew. We brought him back to the precinct. The DA brought the guy in with an interpreter. And he was so impressed that at the time I was studying Goju. And he goes, "Oh, Yamaguchi Sensei. Because his cousin, the interpreter told me his cousin studied Goju with Yamaguchi Sensei.
Oh, you guys have the smallest world as far as connections that I have ever seen.
With Goju, I mean, the Goju has opened so many doors for me in the police department and around the world. It really is just unbelievable. I mean, one time I was in Okinawa and I was kind of lost, like the first time I was there. And I went in to get something to drink, and I looked back behind the counter, and there was a picture of Miyazato Sensei. So, you know, if you're an American in Okinawa, usually you're in there for karate, or the Marine Corps.
Yeah, only those two options.
Yeah.
So I looked back and I said, "Oh, Miyazato Sensei." "Oh, Miyazato." So I started talking. I'm like, I'm lost. Well, she called Miyazato Sensei.
Just on the phone.
He came and got me. Oh, Guasa, go.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy, right?
Oh, man.
Oh,
Wow.
that's cool. I got a little.